Hey Kanche, what are the origins of racism towards Africa?
Okay, well, this stems back all the way back to Garden of Eden times. And, you know, we are all souls that wish to scientifically understand reality. We can all see that the Sahara, if you just do some small research, used to be all green. And it was named right next to the Sahara, Gulf of Aden, which is to signify that the Garden of Eden, or a time of abundance where things are green and there's a lot of love, was in Africa. So a lot of stories that we have historically, you can through science determine a lot of these stories come from a real place. So what I'm trying to say here is that there was a time a long ago on this planet where there was a time of abundance in Africa. And, you know, first before we get into that, I just like to interrupt and describe what racism is. Racism, if we really understand, is, not seeing each other's spirits and looking at the body and then making a lot of assumptions based upon the body that we have. And it's not just, hatred, it's just essentially assumptions based upon the body that we have. That's what racism is. People making assumptions based upon the bodies that we have and not seeing our spirit, not seeing and getting to know each other before we make any conclusions. It's the same thing that science is. We wish to see and experience before we make any assumptions. Otherwise, we don't know the truth. We don't know reality.
Mhm.
So it's essentially making assumptions based upon body type. That's what racism is. So why is there such a racism towards Africa, as well as specifically a hatred like based upon a body type? It goes very far back into those Eden times, because obviously when you look at history, things were very green. There was a lot of wonderful things happening in Africa. And, you can still see the traces of the fall of Eden. There's a lot of witchcraft, a lot of things like this that are still happening here. But the love is still there. The positivity that was there during the Garden of Eden times is still there. Essentially, this requires, people looking into history, people seeing that there were pyramids all across the planet. Those pyramids, it was a lot of Africans that built those pyramids. So there was a history that's lost to the world. We also describe this by saying, what were Buddha's features? Buddha's original features that were also erased by racism, it were African features. So that erasure of history is because of the fall of Eden. The fall of Eden is why people had so much racism and hatred towards Africa, because of all the messed up things that happened after that. All the spirits born into African bodies became blamed for that, rather than seeing, these are messed up things regardless of our body that we all go through. It's just the same thing that happened during 9/11. The body that I was born into, which is Middle Eastern, got hated on, called terrorist, even though it's like maybe like a small percentage of souls that were in those Middle Eastern bodies that did the terrorism. But everyone that had these bodies got blamed for it because of racism. So essentially, the racism and hatred stems very far back into Garden of Eden times. And you can see that also because our memories are passed down, even in our bodies. And, if the idea was truly believed that anyone in an African type of body could not like read or write and do basic performances, the slave masters in America would not have tried to prevent anyone from reading and writing. There was an instinctual fear, and still is an instinctual fear, with those that have European body types, because there was a time where Africa used to run the world and rule the world. So that's the Garden of Eden times. That's Atlantis times. Like there is, a resolution of these things that need to occur for the racism to stop, for everyone to see, oh, that's why there's these instinctual fears. Just like, when anyone has instinctual fears of spiders and it's not understood. The Garden of Eden was a very wonderful place, and it's ingrained in our bodies because it lasted so long. These are things that spiritually need to be awakened into, as well as, there's hidden places still that exist in the world, because when you understand reality and that everything is conscious, witchcraft is real. Spirits that are hiding certain societies are real. Like, people have heard of Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle has ancient Atlanteans that are still there, and it's hidden by spirits that have tried to, down aircraft, down boats, because this world is still not yet awaken to the nature of the self, which is why Kanche and I have tried to share the nature of the self so that everyone can awaken and all of these ancient dramas can be healed. And all of this racism is understood and stopped, because people need to understand where it's coming from to resolve all of these feelings, all of these misunderstandings about reality, as well as, these lost civilizations that are still hiding on this planet, waiting for humanity to awaken to the nature of the self. So basically, in short, it originates from Garden of Eden times, the fall of Eden. That's where the racism towards Africa is coming from. It's coming from a sad time in history that was a fall in history. There was an absolute awesomeness in history that if we remember it, we can even elevate ourselves toward that and heal it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also heal all of the scars that have happened due to ignorance of understanding where that racism come from, where that instinctual fear that happened in many light-skinned or European body types had. If we understand that, we can help to heal all the ancient trauma, as well as restore lost history, and even be able to expand upon what was once there, which is Garden of Eden, which is also why we're working on newaden.org. It's restoring that which was lost and even making things better.